Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. Hi, I'm Joe Mishka. Welcome to another episode of Rural Heritage TV. In its heyday, the Windom Mill in Lancaster, Pennsylvania had been used to produce flour, cornmeal, and apple cider. Over the years, it's had many owners who operated the mill until it ceased operation in 1949. In 1965, it was bought by Paul and Edith Rohrer and has been in the Rohrer family ever since. That's where our story begins. Edith and Paul's son, Ken Rohrer, takes us on a tour of the property.
Okay, my name is Ken Rohrer, and you're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I lived here 55 years.
Okay.
In the house up on the hill there.
Okay.
My wife and I, yes. This is a mill that they tell us was rebuilt in 1810. And I kind of assumed the first one, they said burnt, so I assumed that it was probably just a frame structure maybe. And so yeah, this is a mill that we had refinished back in the 80s. It was in ruins, and they told us that they would have to tear it down because of the one wall. The west wall where the water wheel was shifting. Now when they rebuilt this mill in 1810, they had a separate team of men in each corner rebuilding, and they were trying to make the straightest corner. The mason that made the straightest corner got a $10 prize. And anyway, this was the corner right here that they chose. They all looked the same to me. But anyway, they made a contest out of it.
That's a great story.
And so this corner here then has numbers at the corner right here. And it's 30, I think that's a 7.
Huh.
But it's not only the numbers, it's the line. What do you think the line means?
I wasn't prepared for a quiz. I don't know. I was told
it's a level? Sea level.
Sea level, really?
Sea level, yeah.
Okay.
And after I lived here for a good many years, I had surveyors were coming down the road one day, and I stopped and talked with them, and I asked them where they're headed, and they said they're headed to the bridge right here by the mill.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'd like to talk to you. So we had this discussion.
Uh-huh.
They said they never saw a building with a line on like that underneath numbers.
Yeah.
And there's a sea level mark on the bridge.
Huh.
And this is within inches of the mark on the bridge.
So why was that important to them?
Well, they say if you're grinding and you're using water power in a mill, you never want to run out of power while you're grinding, or you have.
Of course, yeah.
You have everything jammed up.
Right.
So, for some reason, they wanted to know what the sea level.
Huh. Okay.
Building. So that's what it means to me. This is what they called the miller's house.
Okay.
The miller's house. Here's our date stone right here. 1763. And it's
darned. It's crooked. I mean, it's on its side.
Yeah.
So has it always been on its side, or was it moved?
Well, as long as we did last, yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
It's just a little unusual, yeah. 1763.
So has the stream been diverted? The water wheel was where?
Well, the stream was diverted up on the other road, a half a mile up.
Okay.
And there was a mill race that come down through the meadow, through the fields.
Right.
And a lot of that mill race is still there yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
that's interesting.
You want to take a walk around the miller's house, take a look
Sure.
at the stream?
Yeah. So you moved in 55 years ago.
Yeah, we were married in the 69, December of 69.
But you grew up around this area, is that right? Because your dad had a house that.
Yeah.
Okay, a farm up
Yep,
there.
Okay. When I got married, I just moved downstream a half a mile.
So when you were a kid, this was a working mill.
When I was born in 49 is when they gutted it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah, all I know is just stories.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the miller's house here we're at here now.
Yeah.
There was a post office. There was a post office in the mill.
Sure, I've seen that before. That's because it was a gathering place. It was a community center.
In the basement of the mill, we have it like for a little venue.
Sure.
It's a lot. We have our family gatherings there, and we have birthday parties, bridal parties, and that baby showers and that type of thing.
Sure.
From here to the wood. I mean, that's where the pipe went in. That's where the pipe went in. So it was what they called an overshot, and they could drive under the pipe here.
The pipe? You mean the shaft?
No.
The water pipe.
The water pipe actually, it came around our house up here.
Okay.
We have pictures. We have pictures of an iron trough, so wide, maybe 2 feet wide, and maybe, I don't know how deep. And we have pictures of little kids swim. They weren't our kids.
Right. I understand.
Swimming in this little trough.
Okay.
But the water would have came around the house. There was a pond behind the house with a floodgate on it, so they could control the water power.
Okay.
Came around here and into there.
So the overshot wheel was where exactly?
Right in this corner.
Inside?
Inside.
Okay.
Inside,
okay.
Yes.
So there would have been steps coming up to this door.
There was steps to both doors here, yeah. Steps to both doors, which would have into where their milling stones would have been in here.
Yeah, right.
And this floor here.
But the grain probably went up first to the top, right?
Yep. And I think that's
sure. Yeah.
That's where the pulleys would have been up there where the plywood was put across.
Right. Exactly.
And then they would have lifted their bags here. Then inside they would have had they had it. We can show you. They had some little elevators with cups on that they took the. But here's probably where the grain would have went up in the bag. Here's 1763.
Wow, you've done a nice job in here. It's a beautiful space.
Here I have some pictures here. Here is the picture of the way it looked. You know, if that goes back probably in the 30s or 40s, I'm guessing.
So my name is Doug Rohrer, Ken's son. So this is where we live. I grew up in the house up there. This is my wife, Mary. We got married in '98. We moved down here and raised our family down here. So this is the house we live in. This was the old tavern. Yeah, this Windom, it's on an old map. It's the halfway point between Lancaster and Columbia. So then they could come here, stop at the mill, mail a letter, and spend a night if they'd like to.
Yeah, that is very cool.
We get conflicting stories about the layout of this building because it's not laid out like a house. There's not like hallways, just rooms. Different people that have stopped by have said, oh, I was here for a funeral. And they're like, well, this wall wasn't here. So this would have been like one big open living room. Before my grandma passed away, she was living in a nursing home. Got to be friends with another lady there and just talked about grandchildren. But to come to find out that my grandma's friend lived here, she was actually the lady who Ken was talking about in the mill that sold the farm to
Oh,
his
really?
dad.
Wow.
So she came before she passed away because I was desperate to know, what can you tell me about the farm? And she came through the house because she actually lived in this house, and she was able to walk through and describe how this wall wasn't here. This room was my husband's office. Why is there 2 kitchens? Like all of those types of things. So she took us upstairs where our son's bedroom was, and also our nursery back when the kids were little. She's like, no, this was our bathroom. So we had the chance to understand a little bit more of the layout of the house,
Cool.
which has changed because this was also a double house for till 2002. When we were first married, we only had half of the house, and then the other side was rented out to another family, a older couple, and so that's why there's the 2 kitchens. There's why there's just a weird layout of things, because there was always 2 different families living in here when Doug lived at the upper house.
Yep.
There was always 2 sets of renters
Okay.
that lived here
All right.
until we moved here. We had this was originally our half. We had babies. We wanted more babies. We're running out of space.
Right.
And then it just happened to be that the family who was living on the other side of us, the little house, those people were renting, were leaving, and we said, hey, what do you think about moving down there? You have your own house, you're by yourself. They loved the idea, so they moved in 2002 or 3.
They got tired of hearing all the babies crying.
Yeah.
No
Could have been
doubt.
2004,
Yeah,
I don't know.
no doubt. So are you probably,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And then they moved down there, and then we just took our time expanding to make this
Yeah.
feel like a one-family dwelling.
Right.
So this is where the exterior used to be.
Okay.
This is the exterior wall. And then this was the addition then. This kitchen and then our master bedroom up top was the addition.
When was that?
The 1800s.
I think it was roughly 100 years after. So we're thinking 1850 to 1900
Wow.
in there somewhere.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So along the lines when they were saying that everything was covered outside, so was this exterior wall. We didn't know that there was a fireplace in here because this was covered with plaster and drywall.
You're
and
kidding.
The people actually put their washer and dryer in here.
Okay.
And this here was actually a wall. Where this beam is here to here was a wall with just a little cutout as like a walkway to go upstairs.
Huh.
There was a sink here.
Okay.
And of course, then the basement. But this, we had no idea. No one had any idea.
Well,
there
was the
fireplace.
basement just did you access the basement from outside then?
No,
No,
I
this
mean
was still
that
here.
was still covered with
Okay.
stone too, up until just about 10 years ago. But it was so for whatever reason they exposed all of the exterior outside except for this outside wall. That
Huh.
still had that till the 1998 when we were getting married. We removed the stucco and we're like, wait, there's a brick fireplace
How
on the
cool
other
is
side of
that?
that wall. So we had a mason come and do his handiwork to expose this. Everything is original except for the flooring because that was all deteriorated, and
Sure.
he just found brick that was close enough to match what he thought could be.
That's beautiful.
You know. So there was a wall here, a little doorway. This was not here. This is where our washer and dryer and a powder room are now. So my dad and my brother actually built this while we were engaged, and then we had a kitchen put in because the stove was here, refrigerator here, and then the table would have been here because there was a wall there, so
Right.
you wouldn't have
Right,
open
right.
seating.
We think they had that to keep the heat when they used that fireplace. Well, and the bake, they call that a bake
A
oven,
bake
right?
oven.
To keep the heat out of the rest of the house.
Sure.
That would have got really hot.
It was like a summer kitchen then
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
And this is where we thought people had said this wall wasn't here. They're like, no, there was a funeral. He was laid out over here on this wall, and we walked in the front doors, and we were able to kind of walk through and then walk back out the other door.
So this was a big room.
Yeah,
It was beautiful.
thank you. And then this, since this was a double house, this is where the
The other
other
kitchen
family's
was.
kitchen would have been. And, you know, they had their refrigerator stove, moved around. But when we kind of took over the other side, we kind of wanted to keep the kitchen
Sure.
just for storage purposes.
Very cool.
So when we were down the mill, I think we mentioned something about a cistern.
Right.
So there is a cistern underneath here. It's It's in here
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think you're on it. You can hear it,
right
yeah.
here.
Yep.
So, and when we go in the basement, then we'll show you. There's a pipe coming under the ground from the mill So there must have been a belt at some point, whether or not it powered up there.
To move water from out there to here,
Correct.
to use in the sink here.
Yes.
Wow.
Of some sort.
Huh.
Yeah.
And this is like a wooden shanty edition that I'm not sure if you noticed from outside.
I did.
The renters always used it as a shed. So there was again a wall here. There's a door on the other side of this. So they would access this tool shed and come in through here. But then the renters that were here literally only had this room, and like this was their living space.
Right.
So the people that we kind of ended up butting out to move down to the little house were kind of creative, and they said, hey, could we open this up and make this a living room so we have some more space? And we're like, yeah, sure. Blake just got married, so we still have wedding things out here. But
Sure.
this was the second room, the final room that we had exposed just about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That was a labor of love, but
My hat collection is not finished yet. Just that'll be to be continued.
I need to show that to my wife. We moved into a condo from our acreage, and she made me throw away so many hats.
Mary threatened to throw them away, but then she came up with this idea.
but the best part about it is they're all free.
Right.
He only
No, I
gets
did.
free hats.
I did pay for one.
I understand.
Uh-huh.
I had to pay for one of these hats. I think I'm up to over 200. I had to pay for that when we were on our 10th anniversary. So I did. I bartered with the lady, though, mind you.
Sure.
So we should probably show you this little dungeon back here. I have a story for this. So built 200 years ago, I'm assuming these were all hand dug, the basements.
Right.
So then, as you come over here, sorry about the mess.
No,
As you
don't
come
worry about
over
it.
here, this here is a serious bedrock.
Okay.
My best guess is there was a bunch of young men, old men, whoever, digging, because this is a 3-section basement and it's pretty high ceilings for back then.
It is.
And they saw this and they're like, no,
Nuh-uh.
we're done.
Right.
So we ended up with this. There's no light in here, but just a little dungeon where we store paint and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it just goes up, I don't know, maybe 10 feet, 5 feet on the right and the left, because I literally think they just gave up.
There isn't a staircase up there.
No.
So,
no,
okay.
no. I don't know if you have, here, I have a light on my phone. I can.
You can stand up in it. It's very tall. I go in there to put
Oh,
my
wow. Yeah,
So the
yeah.
computer room where we just were, like when we walked through before we went to that
The
little
other
family
kitchen,
room,
The second kitchen.
second kitchen is right, this is the second kitchen right above it.
It's the rumpus room,
Yeah. When you had said about the root cellar,
right?
against where these wooden little blocks are, I wasn't here at the time, but when you would come down the steps, my understanding there was a roof that came out to
Yeah.
here,
This was the root cellar.
parallel to here, and then there was another flight of steps where you are that you would walk down another
Oh,
flight to go.
Four
Cool.
steps, I think it was 4 or 5 more steps, and then this was the roof. But the roof was dilapidated, everything was dilapidated, so we just, my grandfather filled in 1982.
Wow.
So when we repointed
That
it,
makes perfect sense.
These were all rotten, so we just cut little blocks to put them in at the exact same spots to replicate it.
He wanted to keep, like, we knew that there was something here because it was hollow, like where the stucco was, it was hollow. You could see that there was something there, and he still wanted to plug stone in there. Oh, let's keep it. I said, oh, Gary, I feel like there's a story that needs to be shared, and
Right.
I want to put the wood blocks there. He understood, but he's like, are you sure? I said, I'm absolutely sure. So that's why the wood's there. I feel like it needed to be spoken about.
So
Yep.
we were waiting for you to show up to tell
Yeah.
about it.
But-
So here's this.
And I'll share it with the world.
yeah.
So here's this wheel. So I probably made a mistake, but there was a wheel like that up there, right here, but it was a knee bumper.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I cut it off,
Sure.
but then there obviously it was a wheel just like that to here. Then
So
I'm
there was
assuming there would have
a
been
belt.
a belt.
Yeah.
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 So then this, we're assuming, goes over to the cistern
Yeah.
with some sort of pumping mechanism.
Yeah. I'm
So
sure
it
you're
goes
right.
through the wall, right over there. And I tried to turn it, it doesn't budge.
This looks like it would
Yeah.
do some work.
It does,
And I don't know
because
what
these
it
are
does.
just like big set screws holding it tight.
Right. Right.
There has to be a gear in there.
That's very cool. So they would have perhaps used the belt power for other things.
That's
Since
what
they
I'm
had it.
thinking.
I mean, it would be an amazing source of power.
Yeah,
If you got it to the house, you'd use it.
yeah, and like I said, I don't even know what I did with that wheel.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I really wish I wouldn't have.
We had our
Well,
could-
we've seen wheels as we walked around. Maybe it's one of those. We've seen.
Oh, that is true.
Gear
Maybe it's-
wheels.
I'm pretty sure I didn't throw it away.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I wouldn't have cut it off. We just would have put the coffee table there or something. But
But we had our big oil. We had oil tanks there for our old
Oh,
furnace. So
okay.
It was just a.
that's when
ugly
we finished the
dinosaur.
basement off. In 2012 is when we went to propane. I buried a propane, 1,000 gallon outside. Went to the high efficiency propane. We had 3 or 4 oil tanks in
Yeah.
here, 2 huge furnaces because it was 2 different apartments.
Right.
The furnaces were they gobbled up so much fuel it wasn't even worth it.
They were old.
They were old, and the tanks were all but leaking. We just said it was time to do something. They were about 60 or 70 years old.
Big
So,
investment.
It was, but it paid off.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, you guys are doing everything right.
Yeah.
It's just terrific.
Some days I wonder.
No, it's terrific. It's a legacy.
Thank you. No, I enjoy it. I didn't appreciate or understand history at all in school. And then when we got married and moved here, I was like, I think I should have probably paid more attention to what was happening in the 1700s.
Well, it was a distant thing when you were
Right.
studying it in school. Here it's
Right.
tactile.
Right,
It's right
exactly.
there. You can think about the person
Exactly.
putting the belt on.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. But this was the last wall that still had that stucco on it up until like 97 or 98. And then when we took off the stucco, we're like, wait, there is a fireplace.
yeah, that is so cool.
I think they called it a squirrel tail. Wasn't it called a squirrel tail bake oven?
I mean, you guys have been revealing so many mysteries. It is so cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's terrific.
Well, I mean, we easily, it was ruined, so we easily could have just got some other stone and stoned it over. But we
Right.
said, no, that's a piece of history. Let's get brick and let's
Good for you.
finish it up.
Yep, good for you.
The easiest way would have been to drywall out over it. And I think I actually mentioned that, didn't I?
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.